Kudo mawufunu meto lebi oni na D196260AX Hanton Miton ni Azanling Land. What we said was greeting to you all on this month of D, 19th day of the year 6260 in our calendar. Miton Azanling Land. The day of Jozangbe, which is all of this corresponds to Monday, July 8th, 2019 in the Gregorian calendar. Plondi be alo wendo be timme mawufe numel me. That means that the lesson today is, and we want to get back to lessons because we've been spending a lot of time, correcting things that were wrong. That's teaching culture too, but it's just a lot of misinformation out here. But we want to give some direct lessons. And so this, we said in the Aja language at that time, just now rather, means this lesson is about language and culture within the African worldview. We want to very briefly explain to you when we say Aja, so we won't have to keep saying it throughout the lesson. The Fon people of southern Benin are the largest Aja group in Benin. The Ewe people in Togo are the largest Aja people in Togo. All of these people have pretty much the same culture. When they left the area that they were from and settled in the areas that they're in now, they were called Aja people. Due to this misinformation spread by scholars, these false European scholars and misinformed Africans, they've lost their collective identity. Their collective identity is called Aja. All of them, the people in Abomey, who are descendant of the Dahomean Federation, the people in Hula, Grand Popo, the people in Porto Novo, the people in Seto, where our people are from, the people in Alada, Mahi, all of their word for language is Be, G-B-E, right? So they're not bad speaking people like a lot of these false scholars say. Bad speaking is like saying language speaking. The word for language is Be. So all of these people are Aja, no different than Ondo, Oyo, Ife, Ijebu are all Yoruba. They know that. But for some kind of reason amongst the Aja people, there's been a disconnect. So we want to get right with our lesson that we hope that a lot of people get a lot of meat from. We are His Imperial Majesty Axosu Agelogbagan Agbovi I, the paramount monarch of the only marooon monarchy in the world, Ganlodo Hotome, or Ganlodo Marooon Monarchy. Website is Ganlodo kingdom.com, GanlodoKingdom.com. Our publications can be found at Quilombo Restoration and Healing, and that's at restorationhealing.com. We also have articles there and whatnot. We haven't really put nothing there for a long time, but the information is still relevant. Any serious inquiries can be sent to ekaaboquilombo@gmail.com. That is EKAAKILOMBO@gmail.com. We emphasize serious because we begin a lot of people that contact us. They talk about how serious they are about this and that, and they end up flaking in the end. And it doesn't help them. Definitely doesn't help them because our work continues on. If you're serious about inquiring about a roots reading, a aja-tado reading, if you are a marooon or a nationalist that is serious about supporting an African monarchy that is such, then contact us at ekaaboquilombo@gmail.com. So let us begin our lesson. Gana bimebe alo wendo no dunu ete no blodo wesi vo na shiendesu yeso nodo wendo na nuku bedo a. And for the record, all of the language we will be using in this document that is African is aja, unless we specify that it's not. Be, language, and Hwendo, Hwendo, culture, are intricately connected. A particular language usually points to a specific group of people, or ethnicity, or whatever, if you will. When you interact with another language, it means that you're also interacting with the culture that speaks the language. You cannot understand one's culture or another's culture without accessing its language directly. That's very key. When you learn a language, it not only involves learning the wekun, which is alphabet, the word arrangement and the rules of grammar, but also learning about the specific societies, what we call nututo, customs, and nuwalo, behaviors. Nututo, customs, nuwalo, language. Behavior. When learning or teaching a language, it is important that the culture where the language belongs be referenced thoroughly, because the language is very much ingrained in the culture. Language is culture, culture is language. Now let's talk about employing what is called paralanguage. Complex is one term that can be used to describe human communication, since paralanguage, P-A-R-A language, is used to transmit messages. Right? So paralanguage is specific to a culture. Therefore, the communication with other ethnic groups can lead to misunderstandings because each culture has its own paralanguage. When you grow up in a specific society, it is inevitable to learn the glances, gestures, and little changes in voice or tone and other communication tools to emphasize or alter what you want to do or say or intend. These specific communication techniques of one culture are learned mostly by imitating and observing people, initially from parents and immediate relatives, and later from friends and people outside the family and circle, but related to that culture. This is paralanguage. This is what we mean by paralanguage, because we know we didn't give a straight definition at the time. It's hard to give a direct definition without explaining what it is. So, body language, which is also called kinesics, is the most obvious type of paralanguage. These are the postures, expressions, and gestures used as nonverbal language, but often, in congruence with the verbal language. However, it is likewise possible to alter the meaning of various words by changing the tone of the voice. For instance, in Aja language, a question is usually marked by adding a at the end of the sentence, low tone a. In Yoruba, a question is usually denoted by adding at the beginning she of the sentence. You take she and a away from those sentences and you're making a statement and not a question. So let's talk about what is called homologous relationships of culture and language. In Aja, we have the phrase be do huendo, we alo huendo do bewe. We said it to you earlier in English. Language is culture and culture is language. And it's often mentioned when language and culture are discussed, right? Language is culture and culture is language. It's because the two have an homologous, although complex relationship, right? Culture and speech develop together. And from that beginning, the enrichment of either one led to the other to develop further. That's pretty plain. If Wendo is a consequence of the interaction of Mawufe Numetole, African people, the acts of communication are their cultural manifestation within a specific community. Each speech community, or a speech community, is made up of all the messages that were exchanged with one another using a given language or dialect, which is understood by the entire Hotome or society. This is important to understand in relation to our children because it is through them that we build language, culture, power. Culture's communicative pressure represents aspects of reality as well as connects different contexts. It means that the use of symbols that represents events, identities, feelings, and beliefs is also the method of bringing these things into current context. So, this leads us to how do these things influence the way we think? If you think of linguistic relativity, right, one will understand that the way people think of the world is influenced directly by the language that the people use to discuss it, right? We could take that on the very positive extreme and the very negative extreme. Very negative people often use very negative language. People that have a very messed up view of the world have negative language a lot of times, and vice versa. The language habits of specific groups of people built what we call betinme, Gbetinnmee, worldview or paradigm. That's what that word is. The world for each society is different. In analysis, this means that speaking a language means that the person is assuming a culture. Or when they, let's say, and we can clarify that further, when somebody's primary language kind of, it can connote that they're assuming a particular culture. Knowing another culture based on this particular principle is knowing its particular language. Communication is needed to live the interpretations and representations of that world. However, we, as Quilombo Muntu, those Africans that have chosen to live the Quilombo or Marooon paradigm or way of life, we do not get consumed in other people's world, even if we do speak another language that was forced on us hundreds of years ago. Intercultural interactions. What is likely to happen when two or more cultures interact? They come together. Well, interact, not coming together per se. In today's scenario, intercultural interactions are very common. Communication is necessary for any person who wants to understand and get along with people whose backgrounds and beliefs are greatly dissimilar from theirs. Mebuna Huendo. Cultural identity is what that means. And it is marked by language. Although language can be used to refer to other processes and developments, like when intentions are explained in language by a specific people. As mentioned, a specific language refers to a particular cultural group. Values, basic assumptions, behavioral conventions, ways of knowing, and attitudes shared by an ethnic group are a small part of what make up what we call culture. This set of attributes influences the behavior of the individual members of the group and their interpretations of the meanings of the behavior displayed by each member. The set of attributes of a culture is expressed through language. Language is also used to point to objects that are unique to a particular culture. All this means is that if we are returning to our original African minds, right, then immersing ourselves in our original African languages, particularly West African languages, as we are descendants of West African people that were put into captivity, that is mandatory in the re-Africanization process of us becoming whole again. Let's go into transmission of culture and language. Transmission of culture and language. Bedo tuwundowe, language is learned, which means it can be culturally transmitted. Preschool children take on their first language from exposure to random words they encounter in and out of their homes. When they reach school age, they are taught either their first language or another language or a combination. It is the first language the children are taught writing and reading, the correct ways to construct sentences, and how to use formal grammar according to whatever rules of that language. However, the initial knowledge of the child about the essential structure and vocabulary of the first language was learned before the child even went to school, or should be. Now, this following paragraph is pretty deep. Just follow us on this one. Conversely, culture is transmitted in a large part by language through teaching. Language is the reason why humans and others have histories. in the study of animal behavior. Through the course of history, alterations, that means excuse us, to their behavior were the result of the intervention of humans and mankind. There's a difference between the two, between humans and mankind, through domestication and other types of interference. Thus, when the people are oppressed with the religions and languages of foreigners, they can even display the domestication behavior that trained animals do. This is pretty sad. And so what we mean by the difference real quick between humans and mankind, Africans are the only human people. We're the only ones that have human hair. Other people have fur. That's just a fact. But that's for another subject. So we just wanted to make sure you understood that. African people are the only human people. They are the original, only human beings. They are the original entities now called people in this world. All other ones are people. We are the humans. That's another subject. Now, the following is in the Yoruba language, and this is from the Holy Sacred Odu Ifa, sacred oracular, now written down scripture, if you will. Some people call them scriptures, sacred teachings. This one is called Ogbe D, or Ogbe Odi. Aibogun lailoti, Aiborisha lailobi, Aibo Shango kawo kabiyesio lailorogbo, Aibo fa lailopo lopo eku eteja, Lodifa fun Orunmila enjo ti on osan ningbawo, ti won ni wadi aye orun lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ ẹdẹ tí iṣẹ́ òjíṣẹ́ Olódùmarè. Ǹjẹ́ ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìbọ̀rú? Ǹjẹ́ ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìbọ̀yẹ́? Ǹjẹ́ ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìbọ̀ṣìṣẹ́? Àwọn ní ọ̀jẹ́ kí lẹ́ bàbá ìdígbọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ sísá máa jẹ. Ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àìsàn máa jẹ. Ẹ bá mi dúpẹ́ lọ́mọ́ sáàsá la bẹ̀rí rari. Àyín sísá máa jẹ ọ. Gbọ́gbọ́ iṣẹ́ dẹ́. Àìsàn máa jẹ ọ. Gbọ́gbọ́ iṣẹ́ dẹ́. Gbọ́gbọ́ ẹ. Gbọ́gbọ́ ẹ jọ máa jẹ ọ. Gbọ́gbọ́ ẹ. The itan behind this verse, itan means story in the Yoruba language. Orunmila, the entity that represents the wisdom of the oracle of Ifa, the sacred oracle used by Babalawo and Iyanifa to consult the oracle of Ifa. Orunmila and Osian, the deity of herbs, medicines, the forest, both sought out to know the mysteries of the world. They sought to approach Olodumare. When they got to the threshold of Orun, which is heaven, kind of on the frontier between Aye and Orun. Aye is earth. They met up with Ede. Ede means language in Yoruba. Orunmila and Osian opened their ori up, their minds also referencing their spirit, being open to being taught, becoming a tabula rasa, a clean slate, to learn the wisdom that Ede had to teach them. Ede assured them that it was indeed her that they were looking for. Notice Ede is personified as a woman, as a female energy. They settled in with Ede, and Ede revealed to them all the things and their essences one by one. After 25 years of living with Ede, Osian had the bright idea that he would leave and go from heaven to earth, right? In the meantime, Orunmila said he would live there 25 more years. So 25 for Osian and 50 years for Orunmila. When Osian left Orun for earth, for Aye, he got caught in between, in the type of a limbo. So after Orunmila's next 25 years, he descended. It was time for him to go to earth. He had learned what he needed to learn. He saw Osian on the way down. And it was because of this Osian was freed from the space between Aye and Orun and was able to descend with Orunmila. They both descended, got to earth. They saw beautiful things. Orunmila thanked his three Amma. They were mentioned in the verse above. Iboru, Iboye, Iboshishe. And Osian thanked his 3 Omar, they would mention in the verse also. Sisai Maje, Aisai Maje, Sasa La Beri Raji. Right? So in this verse we learned that before they could even approach Olodumare, before that could even happen, right? They had to navigate Ede. Ede being language. They had to learn the mysteries of language. Language contains the keys to unlocking the doors of healing, averting death, kata wakata. This means we must utilize the proper language of the deities to access mystery. No anything goes with language. No praying in whatever, chanting in whatever language you want to. This verse also reveals the primacy of language and culture. Osian, deity of herbs, is mentioned here to show that language is our most potent tool to evoke the power of plants, of herbs. But it's also mentioned that Osian only remained 25 years in comparison to the 50 that Orunmila did. In Vodun cosmology, it is stated that Osian speaks often in a garbled language. This is at once a reference to the fact that he did not stay the requisite time to learn all the wisdom of language. He was incomplete because of that, right? And that his work, the herbalist, is incomplete without the wisdom of Orunmila, who stayed for the complete secrets. Ejagbe dube abobote na debodo begbi wamliko bedo nuemi nomli ejene tonodisim jawe amawufeno nuwe noka wezum yikpe mawufenugbe. In the Aja language, the word be means language, life, and the universe. A true human is called Beto, G-B-E-T-O. Language is G-B-E. And a Beto is defined, directly translated, as like an agent or transmitter of life. Not a destroyer of life. But this is not in just outer speech with the word be meaning language. It includes even having your inner chatter from your own cultural worldview. Meaning as you seek to live an African way of life, you begin to think in African languages. So that's on the next level thing with the re-Africanization process and returning to African tradition. When you are thinking in Yoruba or Igbo or Akan, a tree of the Akan people, that's another level of this. So now this is from the Polifa Dishe. Polifa is in the Aja language. That is normally what would be called in Yoruba Oduifa, but it's called Polifa. Poli references somebody's destiny. That's one reason they call them Polifa in the Aja language. So the following small verse is from the Aja Vodun expression from the Polifa Dishe, which would be called Odioshe in the Yoruba language. Mel plon ko bel daho naye blo gono ago naye bi ago. And that says one who has been taught or was taught the language of old only for them to become idiots. Backwards they will forever be. Backwards. So finally, from our cultural paradigm, to misuse the language is ago. That word ago in that verse we just quoted means backwards. To neglect the language is to be ago. To downplay the language within the realm of mawufenu means something African. So to downplay the language within the realm of mawufenu cultural tradition is ago. To this we say in Aja or Ajagbe, Aja language, Mele no nukun ton medesu sininu. Medesu sininu. Alo ali sogbe na meleje kovo alo blegle a. We repeated the word medesu sininu, or it also can be pronounced medesu sinino, because that means sovereignty. So what that says is that no such people, meaning those that are operating from the aga, a backwards perspective, no such people can expect to gain any sovereignty and independence, which is the natural goal for all free and whole people. Once again, our website is ganlodokingdom.com, Ganlodo kingdom.com. Our publications can be found at restorationhealing.com. That website is called Quilombo Restoration and Healing, Quilombo, Kilombo. Contact is EKAA KILOMBO@gmail.com for serious inquiries only, period. We're only dealing with serious inquiries. People that want roots readings, aja-tado reading, roots reading, tell you who you really are, aja-tado, your sponsoring ancestor, you can contact us about that. Odiba.